Thank you to all 170 people that are subscribed to me at the time of me making this video. I appreciate it. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. This is Talking to Myself, the part of the day where I just sit down and I talk to myself about things that I was thinking the night before, or things that, I just maybe noticed in my day-to-day life, maybe even this morning. I am feeling a lot better. Last night I didn't feel too good. I had over the weekend a couple giant burritos and tacos and some spicy ramen from a place called Noodle Tree, and it was all delicious, but when I tell you I paid the price for it, I paid the price for it heavily. But other than that, things are going good. So just talking shop and everything, like to get this out there, a PSA to everyone. I'll jump out there in the first few minutes of the video. I don't give a damn what you shoot with. I don't give a damn what you use. I don't give a damn how long you've been taking photos, and that's why you choose to use this system or that system. That's fantastic. That's great. I believe that you should be able to shoot with whatever you want. And I'll say it again, to the Leica fanboys who I have hurt so dearly over the recent weeks, I don't care that you shoot with Leica. I actually like the Leica look because I like the Leica lenses. I just, once again, don't understand the comparison between any camera with the M10, if you're talking about a digital camera, any camera whatsoever. It's not even just Fujifilm. I've never complained once whenever Fuji was complained with Sony whenever the X-T3 or the X-T4 comes out. I've never once complained whenever Nikon and so any other camera systems are compared, because you have to understand there's a difference between a company intentionally bricking a camera in the Leica M10 or the M whatever series or the Q2, intentionally bricking it. What I mean by bricking it is Leica has the technology to be able to put 10 frames per second, to be able to extend that raw buffer, to be able to put in a pretty accurate autofocus system into these cameras, but they're intentionally choosing not to. That's why I think it's stupid and ridiculous to compare a Leica camera of that build, where it's not autofocus, where it's literally made to give you a nostalgic feel, to any regular digital camera, mirrorless camera, especially the Fujifilm, because it's APS-C. Especially whenever Leica has a CL camera that is APS-C that actually operates with autofocus and everything similar to what a Fujifilm camera will. But people don't want to do that, again, because you're just looking at aesthetic. Once again, the whole comparison is because of aesthetic, because I've heard no one compare the Canon or a Sony or any Nikon Z cameras to, again, a Leica. So I just think it's really disingenuous and weird. People saying, oh, you can compare different focal lengths and stuff like that. I understand people compare different focal lengths. What's better, 35mm, 50mm, 85mm for portraits? I understand. Those comparisons okay, because you're comparing those lenses on a body most likely with the same sensor, because everyone would throw a fit if I was to put the 50mm on a Fujifilm camera and compare it to the 85mm on a Canon camera. They'd be like, oh, because of sensor size and also because the crop factor, blah, blah, blah. That wouldn't fly. But for some reason, it flies whenever you're discussing Leica cameras with the Fuji X series camera. But again, even further, no one compares the M10 or any other digital Leica manual focus camera, rangefinder camera, to any other, camera out there, professional camera out there, whether it be the Canon, anything from Canon, anything from Pentax, anything from Olympus, Sony, Nikon. And once again, the reason being because the aesthetic. So if it all comes down to aesthetic, just judge it on the aesthetic, but don't pair them up against each other, because I, again, think it's disingenuous, especially to Leica and Fujifilm, because Fujifilm, I understand you can take some hints of, hey, you know what, I like what they're doing here with the look and the build and everything, and I'm going to put that in mind, because that's what Leica did whenever they copied the rangefinder style. And when I say style, I mean style, not the system. So you guys got to get your definitions correct. Rangefinder style from Kodak, whenever they stole that from Kodak and used that kind of build. But yeah, that's all I'm saying. I don't care. I don't give a damn what you shoot. Literally, I don't care what you shoot. There are people on this video on my comments all the time who's talking about they're still shooting with Nikon or still shooting with this or that, or they have a Fuji just as a backup, just because they like the way it feels for a point and shoot and stuff. And I get that. This isn't about creating a Fujifilm only community and where I'm fanboying and defending Fujifilm. I prefer it and I like it, but the biggest thing that I can't stand is snobs in camera communities. And once again, every time I say the same thing, that the Leica comparisons are dumb, and explain the reasons, everyone's like, well, you know, my Leica camera does this and this, and I enjoy it, and I don't mind paying the money. I don't give a damn if you paid a lot of money. I honestly don't give a damn how much you enjoy it, because that's a good thing. I'm glad you do. I never said no one shooting Leica is this unfulfilled weirdo just floating along the world and just like having to suck it up and deal with themselves. All I'm saying is the comparisons don't make sense and they're dumb. And I can explain it over and over and over again, but you guys continue to get hurt because you hear the first 5 seconds of what I'm saying, and then you get your feelings hurt and you start typing a 6-paragraph comment. And literally, if you look through my comments on any Leica video, there's going to be someone with at least 2 to 3 paragraphs who made a comment. And it's going to make no sense because they're just sticking on one thing where I said I think the Leica bodies are overpriced, because I think they do. I think they are. I think for the most part, the Leica M bodies, like the M10, is overpriced, and I think the Q, you know, it's pretty overpriced for what you're getting compared to other competitors, because you're paying for the Leica badge and you're paying for that nostalgic feel of a rangefinder system, etc. on a camera. That's plain and simple it. And whenever you admit that, it's fine. And if you don't want to admit it, that's fine. But whenever you start trying to justify the comparison between Leica and Fujifilm, that's whenever it gets weird and unnecessary, and it just really bothers, because you can't name me one, because everyone always reverts back to, well, it's because they have that OVF. Once again, you're talking about aesthetics, not application, because you can't manually focus with that OVF unless you have that little mirror in the corner on the X Pro 3 that actually lets you manually focus because it zooms in. But even then, that's not a true OVF the same way that Leica has with rangefinder. So if you guys at the same time, in the same breath, want to cry that Fujifilm is not a rangefinder camera, the X Pro 3 is not a real rangefinder camera, then stop comparing it. It just makes no sense. I'm just trying to hold people accountable, because I think it's disingenuous to compare the two and make it seem like they're similar, because you're going to lead someone down a purchase they don't want. But anyway, that's just me. Other news is, so I have today I have the 50mm 1.2 from TT Artisans coming in. Looks fantastic. I also am very, very tempted to purchase the M mount 7 Artisans 50mm 0.95 just for fun, and then buying myself an M mount adapter to Fuji X mount adapter, and putting that on my Fujifilm, on my X Pro 3. I think it would be very, very, not only funny, but I think it'd be very, very, very cool to look at, because from everything that I'm seeing online, and it's mostly just stuff that I've read, whenever I look up this lens, the build from 7 Artisans and TT Artisans for Leica cameras are completely different than the build, and they have completely different tolerances than any other camera system, which makes sense. If you're a Leica user, you're not going to want to have something that's super duper slippery and loose on your camera, because that's not the tolerances that Leica cameras are built to. Not that any other camera system doesn't have a good tolerance, but every other camera system, but Leica camera systems they're claim to fame is how well built and how amazing their tolerances are, and how tight and compact and I guess heavy everything looks. That's how I would describe it. Is it's a very, very tightly built machine. And so I'm very, very curious, because I hear nothing but good things about that, and I hear a lot of great things about not only the bokeh you get out of that, but the fact that it's pretty damn sharp throughout the image. Once you stop down to about f2, it gets super duper sharp, blanketed across the image, as far as f2 will. But I read some great things that a lot of people were stopping down to f2. They still had some pretty banging compression. They did not have too much flare, and that the bokeh was really pleasing when they stopped down to f2, so they were able to get the subject's face in focus, and more than just an eyeball, and that it really made focusing pretty easy. And so I'm very curious to try that out. I've been seriously contemplating it. They have one in black for about $3.99, and I can get the adapter for maybe about $50, a really good one. And when I tell you I am seriously contemplating it, I am seriously contemplating it. I mean, it is a big piece of glass, but I'm really looking at the 7 Artisans 50.95, and maybe I can get a whole bunch of 50 millimeters and compare them, because I'm curious. You know, is it that much difference at 1.2 on that 7 Artisans versus the TT Artisans I'm buying for the Fuji X mount? And of course, the adapter I would buy would actually be. Is it a reducer? I'm not even sure what they're called. I keep a speed booster. So that all that light's directed properly to the APS-C sensor, and then from what I've read, that actually makes it a 0.9 instead of a 0.95 whenever it comes to how fast and how much light is coming into it. So that's one of my ideas to maybe make a Frankenstein thing, and I would not mind that at all. Honestly, I think it would be pretty nice. Leica lenses are great, and I hear the formula in that is directly a derivative from a certain Leica build-in copy. I don't know too much about all their lenses. I've only shot with the body a couple times for, and the longest was for 2 hours one time. And I enjoyed the look that came out of it because of the lenses. The lenses have so much character. It's just beautiful. But I hear that 7 Artisans is very similar. So I'm getting the TT Artisans 51.2 today. I'm looking into snagging that 7 Artisans 50mm 0.95 and a speed booster M mount to X, and put it on my X Pro 3 and seeing what kind of trouble I can get into with that. Besides that, still looking at the 50 f2. I'm thinking I just might grab it from Fujifilm. It's just going to be something nice to have. It's a nice walking around lens. It's a lens and a focal length that I actually really do like and appreciate, and so it's something that I can be on board with handling and with having. It'll be nice to compare it to the 51.2. I've had some people wondering about that. Once again, let me put a disclaimer: I'm not a reviewer. I've already turned down 2 emails from Paragear or whatever the company is. I think it's Paragear, because Paragear, I believe, has Viltrox 7 Artisans Godox. I believe they're from the same manufacturer, is what I found out recently, or it's one of the mother companies. So, for a Paragear lens and a Viltrox lens, and it's because I'm not a reviewer. I'm not a reviewer. If I review something, you're never going to get the nice cinematic B-roll. When I'm discussing it, I'm never going to put pictures up, and people will bitch about that. So continue to bitch, because honestly, you don't have to follow me. You don't have to subscribe to this channel. And to be honest with you, I'm not trying to start a community that comes to me for answers for what they should buy, because I believe you should go out and rent something or potentially purchase it or whatever and work with it. And to be honest, if you're trying to save yourself from a bad purchase, think about it. Do I really need this to create what I need to create? And if the answer is less than 100% yes, then don't buy it. If you can make it work. If you're worried about, okay, I want to move from the 50 f2 to the 56 1.2 or the 50 1.0, what should I get? I need to see reviews. You're not ready to move from the 50 f2. Because if you don't have a straight answer, because there's 2 things that should determine your answer for whenever you're buying gear. Do I have the resources to purchase it? Meaning, do I have the money? So you should be on budget. And if I'm on budget, the second answer should be will this help something I'm already doing? And so if it will help something you're already doing, then, that's how you make the purchase. But let's say you have a $1,500 budget and you want the best portrait lens. Okay, you're going to have to look at a few lenses. You're going to have the 90 f2, the 50 1.0, you're going to have the 56 1.2. And I understand at that point, you're going to want reviewers to tell you what's good and what's bad. But what is the most beneficial thing for you to do is, if you have $20 or a few bucks to spare, maybe $100, rent the lenses you're strongest about. Because let me tell you, when you watch reviews, you're really set up for disappointment if what you get isn't exactly what you need, because everyone uses things in different worlds and different applications, different camera bodies. You just don't want to be disappointed. So I'm not a reviewer because I can't give you all the answers, and I won't recommend something to you. I'll tell you how the experience is with me and why it's one of my favorites. Me personally, I can't recommend the 56 1.2 anymore. I won't, because it's a great lens. It has great character, but it just left me not excited to use it. I really wasn't. Had nothing to do with the weight, the size, anything like that. But it was just a okay lens to me. I mean, it's a beautiful lens, but it was nothing that really impressed me as far as the case of use. The 90 f2 is one that I prefer. I think that's the best portrait lens for Fujifilm, but everyone gets freaked out because the f2, when they want a 90mm 1.8 or a 1.6 or a 1.4 or 1.2 or 1.0, because that's professional. When the fact is that a faster lens doesn't make it more professional. But yeah, so I'm not good at reviews. I'm not going to do reviews. I'm not going to shoot all the B-roll. I'm not going to have all the sample photos whenever I'm discussing some things, unless it is something where I actually put in the time to do a review, or I just want to show you photos. And I just believe, you know, I don't want to get down that road. I don't want to get, move down that direction to where that's what I focus on my time with, because I'm not going to put in the time for that. I do the talking to myself because I enjoy talking to them. I'm trying to do video podcasts because I enjoy learning from people. And I let you know about things and purchases and how I use and how things are working for me, just in case I can help you out. But I'm not going to do a full review, because honestly, what can be said that I'm already going to say that someone else hasn't? If you want reviews, go watch Omar Gonzalez, because he is fantastic with his reviews. He puts everything out there very plain English to understand. He gives you a lot of great sample photos, and he does a lot of great things with it. If you want a review, go to John Branch for photography, go to Frono's Photo, go to Reggie Ballesteros. You know, there are a lot of people that have reviews on these lenses, but if you want me to do one, I'm not your guy, man, because I'm not gonna do it well enough to please all of you. So let's break it down. What I got in my lineup right now: I got the X Pro 3, I got an X100T, I've got the 18mm f2, fantastic lens. I've got the 35 1.4, fantastic lens. I'm getting in today the 50mm 1.2 from TT Artisans, potentially fantastic lens. From what I read, it's a great bang for your buck lens, only $100. And then potentially I have the 50mm f2 from Fujifilm coming in, a lens that I already pretty much like, and I'm just going to be using it for a certain set case scenario, potentially coming its way as well. And so that'll be what I'm looking at. As far as extra gear that I may ever get, if I start picking back up photography, there's a chance that the XT30, which I really like the XT30. People may be thinking, why don't you go over the XT3? For bang for your buck, the XT30 is a fantastic camera to get. I understand it's not weatherproof, and that's something I don't care about. But if I was to be redoing weddings and things like that, and get me a 90mm f2, the 90mm f2 during ceremony would probably sit square and very, very nicely on the X Pro 3. Just ready at all times for me to pick it up, and that XT30 with a wider lens would probably do pretty good. The XT30 is a great camera for great because of weight. I understand I'd be having to switch batteries, but I've never ran into a situation, especially with two cameras, where I've had to switch the batteries in a camera more than once. So maybe if I brought 3 on a shoot, I could do just fine, because yes, you're shooting a lot, but at the same time, I'm not shooting a million shots. And maybe that's what it is I'm not just holding down the shutter button and shooting a million shots. That's just the way I shoot, because I hate culling images anytime. Even in my personal shots, I hate culling images and having to separate them. So I just make sure not to do that. If I ever do continuous shots, it's always continuous low. And I understand people are thinking, oh, but you could miss a shot. Well, you know what? There have been wedding photographers throughout the ages that didn't have the benefit of shooting in 20 frames per second, and they got the shot. So I think I'm just going to pay attention to my bride and groom and not chance it, and just focus on that and get what I need to get. So anyway, that's that. This weekend I finally get to do a shoot, which will be fantastic. Hopefully that still follows through, and then I'll be able to meet with someone about a website and curating images and creating images for their website, whether through design, photography, and also helping build that website using a third-party client. So things are going great. Really excited. And again, I'm sorry guys, it's going 20 minutes, but I hope you guys have a good one, and thanks for watching.